All right, good evening, everyone. It is now just about 7:40. I'm at Bloodworth alongside meteorologist Grant Skinner, and we're going to be with you here through the course of the night as we are continuing to track the progress of what is the first landfalling hurricane on the Louisiana Gulf Coast since 2020. It's been a while.
Yeah, and the good news with this system is the strongest winds, the majority of the rainfall is going to be to our west, but we're still going to be feeling effects here on our stretch of the Gulf Coast. Again, rough surf. We've already seen issues with some pretty gusty winds in some spots to our west, and those winds will gradually head in our direction over the next several hours. So we're keeping track of that, and we'll keep you updated.
All right, so the point of this Facebook Live, again, we're going to spend a little extra time, the time that we don't normally have during our newscast. So to answer your questions, we do this a lot of the time when it comes to severe weather issues. So what we're going to do is we're each going to focus on several aspects of the storm. We're going to talk about what's happening now. I'm going to detail the severe weather threat. Grant's going to dive a little bit more into the wind threat, the surge impacts, and the flooding as well. And I know we've got we're getting close to 700 folks now on our Facebook Live. Let us know where you're watching from, and there will be a period where we're going to start taking your questions. I think we're going to answer a lot of those questions here over the next couple of minutes. So I'll go ahead and give you that.
Yep, sounds good. And a quick reminder, make sure to go to the WKRG Facebook to do comments. That way we can see those comments that we're looking at right here. So just make sure to go to that. If you're on any of our pages, just go over to the WKRG Facebook to ask a few questions.
That's it. So make sure you let us know what what's on your mind tonight. Of course, it's all things tropics, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick check of what's happening now, talk about the rainfall, and we're also going to detail your tornado threat for the night. So throughout most of the day, we've had a lot of light rain. Winds have been breezy, but not too strong. We've had sustained winds in the 10 to 20 mile per hour range with some occasional gusts. But now we're starting to get some gusts that are closing in on tropical storm strength here. We've seen some of those gusts down at the coast around 38, 39 miles per hour, which that was our first tropical storm gust that we saw. But right now, again, a lot of areas getting kind of a break, a little bit of a reprieve in the rainfall. It's very light here. Bay Minette, North Baldwin County, inland areas now into George County, Mississippi. But you notice what's sitting just off to our south, some heavier thunderstorms that are developing. They're inching their way closer to the coast. We're even getting a little bit of lightning here off of Pascagoula, Moss Point, and the Biloxi area as those storms draw closer. So here's a look at this. So what we have is the actual center of circulation, the center of what is still Hurricane Francine now, with the eye wall closing in on New Orleans. But it's this big tail of moisture. We've been mentioning this for the last couple of days that we're really concerned about tonight regarding severe weather threats. As was the case with all landfalling tropical systems, they tend to bring a tornado threat, and this threat may be a little bit higher than we normally see, and we'll explain why here. But look at the velocity. So I'm thinking we're going to be using this quite a bit. You notice some of those downpours. You see that little red and green couplet there. There was another one, a little weaker one to the south. So we're getting rotating thunderstorms out there, a little supercell storms that are working their way closer to the coast. So this will be an issue as all that moves north. Here's a look at the storm itself. That northern eye wall, what's left of it, is still packing winds that are gusting over 80 miles per hour now. The southern eye wall kind of non-existent as some dry air is kind of eaten away at the back side of this system. But Jean Lafitte, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, all getting on some heavy winds now. That's going to roll up towards Bogalusa and then eventually into Mississippi. And if you are tracking at home, here are the stats. This is as of 7 p.m. tonight. Max wind still 85, so it's still a Category 1 hurricane. This will likely become a tropical storm as it crosses into Mississippi later this evening. So the track, again, going to shoot the gap between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, move right up into central Mississippi, going to spread rain and wind the entire way. In fact, tropical storm winds could extend as far inland as Laurel, Mississippi, just south of Meridian could still get some gusts as well, but the tropical storm winds will not extend all the way into North Mississippi. This will slow down and going to kind of park itself. It'll be a rainmaker, a very stubborn rainmaker over the mid-south. So this is one of our higher resolution forecast models, kind of shows you what to expect, generally speaking, over the next couple of hours. So those of you who are getting a break from the rain, that will come to an end as we approach 10 and 11 o'clock tonight. As we get more of these thunderstorms, that tail of moisture starts to set up on top of us. That's going to also bring a threat of damaging winds and, again, isolated tornadoes. There's going to be some dry air that kind of undercuts a lot of this, and that's going to help to add some instability tonight to this batch of storms. That combined with some wind shear will set us up with maybe some brief tornadoes. I think that's going to be an issue. So now this is moving past midnight. You notice how that threat starts to wind down a bit across parts of Mississippi, but it's that main batch of storms that we're going to watch east of Mobile Bay, and everything will continue to work through northwest Florida, perhaps as far north. We could still see some rotating thunderstorms here across Monroe, Conecuh County. This is by 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then everything starts to lift north. Again, there's the center, dry air kind of punching into the system, still dealing with a small rotating storm threat here, even at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. But as the storm lifts north, that drier air becomes dominant, and we start to get rid of our tornado threat. We're thinking this all ends right around 9 o'clock in the morning at the very latest. So, zone timing here. This is something we tend to show a lot when we look at severe weather and tornadoes, lines of storms, but this is regarding the tornado threat timing, when it comes to an end. If you were in Leakesville, Citronelle, Bay Minette, down to Pensacola, if you're along that line into the west, so this is most of Mobile County, South Baldwin County, most of our Mississippi communities, your tornado threat continues now through 5 o'clock in the morning. Zone number 2, Washington County, South Clark County, stretching all the way through northwest Florida. Now through 7 a.m. is going to be your tornado threat window. That's when isolated tornadoes are possible. And through 9 a.m. for Conecuh County, Evergreen, North Monroe County, Northern Clark County. Now, I do want to emphasize, we are not expecting a major tornado outbreak tonight. That's not what we're expecting. Just within these thunderstorms, there could be a couple of quick tornadoes here and there with this storm with so much wind shear in place. So again, take a look at that zone timing here, give you a better look at when we anticipate some of the tornado threats to move through. But of course, the tornado threat is one of several other big threats that we have here on the Gulf Coast tonight, and Grant Skinner's going to take you through that. I'm going to start off with some of those tropical storm force winds here.
Yeah, so I want to first show you the tropical storm alert. So this is our tropical storm warning that's in place. This is in place for all of our Mississippi counties, also Mobile and Baldwin County, and offshore waters as well. Now, this is for sustained winds 20 to 30 miles per hour and gusts up to 50 miles per hour. For those places that aren't in the tropical storm warning, you have a wind advisory. So everyone's under a wind alert. It's just there's no wind-specific alert for the area of the tropical storm warning because the winds are encompassed in that tropical storm warning. So if you're in that wind advisory from Washington County all the way over to Conecuh County, in areas south over to northwest Florida, 15 to 25 mile per hour sustained winds possible with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Now I want to kind of break this down in zones. So if you're in any of these areas, mainly west of I-65, you're going to see wind gusts as high as around 45 miles per hour. But if you're in areas specifically in Mississippi or the western portions of Mobile County, you can expect wind gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour. If you're in areas really along Citronelle and areas east, as far east as Atmore, Alabama, Molino in Florida, Grove Hill, you could see wind gusts up to 35 to 45 miles per hour. If you're in other parts of northwest Florida, Bruton, Evergreen, Alabama, Monroeville, and points to the north, you're looking at wind gusts up to 30 to 40 miles per hour. So breezy conditions possible. What that means is if you have that loose furniture outside, secure it or go ahead and bring it inside. You probably should have already done that the past several hours preparing for this, but if you haven't yet, this is the time to do that before these wind gusts start to pick up overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So again, wind gusts increasing later on tonight and into tomorrow as those bands of showers and storms start to move in. Another concern, of course, is the surf. We have a high surf advisory in place and a coastal flood warning as well. So with the surf and the flooding, there's going to be big concerns into tonight. You can see Orange Beach Sweat Tires camera all on the coastline. We've already got rough surf, double red flags flying. Those beaches are closed, so stay out of the water. And that beach and boating forecast shows winds south turning southwest 20 to 30 knots into tomorrow with gusts up to 40 knots, seas 7 to 11 feet. And one thing we want to watch closely is into tomorrow morning. High tide 6:32 a.m. So as you're stepping out the door tomorrow morning, if you have areas like the Causeway could definitely see flooding at this time, more likely than at other times because this is at high tide. So that's going to be a concern. Areas along the Causeway and other flood-prone areas, you're going to want to avoid those as they're likely going to have at least some sort of flooding into tomorrow. Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, Pensacola Beach, showers and storms, of course, ongoing throughout the day tomorrow. We have a high risk for rip currents as well. So again, stay out of the Gulf waters over the next couple of days as that rough surf remains over the area. Looks like my graphics are having some trouble. It looks like my remote just died, Ed. So Ed will help me out in a second. Looks like my remote just went out. Oh, there you go. Changed it for me. Coastal flood alerts in place. So southern portions of Mobile and Baldwin County under a coastal flood warning. Other areas under a coastal flood advisory. So when we talk about that coastal flood warning, so we're going to switch out these real quick. Perfect, thank you. So again, when we talk about those coastal flood warnings, we're mainly talking about those coastal areas in Mobile and Baldwin County included in that tropical storm warning. For the coastal flood advisory, that's only for our northwest Florida beaches and the coastline there. We also have a high surf warning in place for coastal Mobile County all the way into northwest Florida as well. So be mindful of that if you live in those areas. So to break down some of those flood prone areas, US 90 again along the causeway, shoreline areas and streets along really east of Water Street, closer to Mobile River. Conception Street near 3 Mile Creek as well, Telegraph Road, near the Industrial Canal, and also Dolphin Island Parkway on the north side of the Dog River Bridge. These are some of the examples given to us by the National Weather Service, and of course there are many other areas that are flood prone, Coden, other coastal areas that are, again, flood prone, especially during tropical systems like this. So just be very mindful of that when you're out and about driving into tomorrow morning, and even the middle part of the day as we're kind of having that high tide recede. So again, high surf warning is in place for areas from coastal Mobile County all the way to northwest Florida, waves 7 to 11 feet in the surf zone, so be mindful of that. Also, a storm surge alert in place for Jackson County as well. So a lot of alerts in place throughout the News 5 viewing area. Peak storm surge, of course, 2 to 4 feet for areas for coastal Alabama counties all the way to Mississippi, 3 to 5 feet there. 1 to 2 feet over northwest Florida, so you kind of see them separated out here. But again, the highest surge, of course, over our Mississippi counties, with it dropping as you get further into northwest Florida. So overall, just make sure to have multiple ways to receive warnings. We've got a lot of alerts in place, and Ed, I know you're going to break down some of the timing of when we could expect, kind of overall when we could expect the timing of these alerts.
Let's go ahead and actually move that. Let's actually both go through this. I just updated the timing here. So now is the time where we're actually going to start answering some of your questions. I know we just went through a lot of this, but now, again, this is kind of just to summarize everything that we just went through here. So it's the tropical storm timing now through 1 p.m. with those gusts, especially in Mississippi, where we can get some of those higher end gusts. As we just mentioned, the tornado threat goes starting around about 10 minutes from now. We don't have a tornado watch yet. We are anticipating a watch will come tonight as those storms in the Gulf start to get a little bit closer as well.
Yep. So. Also, storm surge going to be an issue midnight all the way through 9 a.m. with coastal flooding possibility, especially closer to high tide. And it happens around 6:30 tomorrow. And also we have a flooding threat as well. That's been ongoing with the showers continuing to fall over the area. I know we only have some light showers right now, but once these bands of showers and storms move in, we're going to see a lot of heavy downpours and consistently over the span of several hours. So
yeah, now is the time to start taking some of your questions. I know we've gone through a lot here today. It's just what you expect. I know a lot of new folks have moved into the area here since the record season of 2020. So it's not going to be the strongest storm. This is not going to be a Frederick. This is not going to be a Sally. This is not going to be a Katrina. We're not talking about that kind of storm, but for folks who are new to this area, have never been through something like this, we will get some of those gusts, so it's a good time to, again, review your plan, make sure you have anything should really the big storm ever come. With this, which is actually yesterday was the official peak of hurricane season, kind of thinking about that. Folks asking about school closures. So we have a full list of closures on our website. So if you look on our homepage of our website, you'll see a couple stories regarding Francine. One of them will be school closings. And again, we did have some change. I think Mobile County is closed tomorrow. Baldwin County, I'm unsure about at this point. Last I checked, I think they were still operating normally.
Yeah, last I checked Facebook, they were still open tomorrow.
Yeah.
Of course, we still could see changes, but as of now, they are open.
And some of the private schools, some of them are closing, some of them are staying open. I believe the Archdiocese of Mobile, the Catholic schools are going to class for tomorrow. So we'll be updating those here throughout the night. Let's talking a little bit about I want to talk about the tornado threat here a little bit more. So as we were kind of mentioning and talking about this, you know, you always get a landfalling tornado threat.
Right.
This is not uncommon. We saw a lot of that earlier this summer when Beryl made landfall in Texas. At this point, I don't anticipate we're going to get to that kind of level with those, but you know, a quick tornado always going to be possible. I know we had over 1,000 folks come out here over the summer. We programmed weather radios. We can still hear the beeping in our ears right now. Make sure you, before you go to bed tonight, make sure it's in alert mode. A little button on the side of the radio. Make sure you switch it on to make sure you receive weather alerts.
Oh, a quick note. I wanted to mention this about the wind gusts.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that we could have some at least minor tree damage with some of these brief wind gusts that could get up to around 50 miles per hour for some spots. So there's going to be periods of time where you could have power outages, especially in those areas that have, again, a lot of trees. So just be patient. I know those power crews are going to get out as soon as possible and restore power as quickly as they can, but that's definitely going to be a possibility with some of these stronger wind gusts into this evening, even if they don't hit that severe mark.
Yeah, some questions about when we're actually going to fully dry things out. And I think actually we're going to dry out fairly quickly. So what's going to happen as the storm kind of goes through, some dry airs, in fact, it's already starting to happen. It's already starting to wrap into the system. And once that dry air pushes into our area, you're actually going to see some sun tomorrow. We're going to get into sunshine, especially second half of the day. But as that comes in, early part of the day, that's actually going to create an environment where we can get some isolated tornadoes tonight. But there will be sun. I don't anticipate really much rain at all tomorrow afternoon. Maybe some spotty showers kind of left over, but don't anticipate severe weather.
Yeah, with drier air behind it, I think the severe threat will drop off, and then the rain chances will quickly drop off into the back half of the day. So that'll make things a lot better for the second half, which is nice.
Yeah, a lot of folks are talking about roadways. I know you kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. You know, folks who have lived here, you know which areas tend to flood. You know which areas, the causeway, parts on Dauphin Island, parts of DIP, some of those things. You just went over some of those
I went
roads.
over a handful of them. I couldn't get to all of them. I know I probably missed a lot of spots that are flood prone because there are a lot in this area. We live in a very low-lying area, especially in parts of Mobile County, Baldwin County, coastal Mississippi, even coastal parts of Northwest Florida as well, a lot of low-lying communities. So it would be really smart for you to go on your local county's website and look up those flood zones. If you're in certain flood zones, it'll give you more details about with certain, again, inundation on certain waterways, what you can expect in terms of flooding. If you live in a flood zone, you definitely want to be mindful of that, especially if on your commutes as well, if you're driving through areas that are flood prone. Yeah,
and see some folks again talking about specifically the causeway. So based off of high tide cycles and into Mobile Bay are right around 6:30 tomorrow morning. That is also going to be the time when we have pretty good south winds coming in. And so just kind of you'd think, high tide, more water getting pushed into the bay. Again, still forecasting around 2 to 4 feet. 4 feet may be a little on the high side, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. So with that would cause parts of the causeway to go underwater. So.
Yeah, and that was something that I was reading in the National Weather Service suggestion as well. They were making it clear that they were expecting about around 3 feet inundation.
Yeah.
And so with that, there would be areas on both lanes that would be covered with water. And so, again, that's a big concern for a lot of folks that take the causeway for their commute. And with the strong wind gusts, even the bayway, at times, especially in the early morning, we have those stronger wind gusts. That will also be a concern.
And some of those gusts will extend all the way to maybe lunch hour in some spots. Some folks asking about driving along I-10, even some of the elevated roadways. You'll be able to navigate those roads. Those roads you will. But if you drive a high-profile vehicle, trucks, semi-trucks, if you are a trucker, a large SUV, hold on to your steering wheel. You kind of feel yourself kind of jarring back and forth in some of those strong gusty winds. But your commute along I-10 east and west, I don't think you're going to have any problems for tomorrow.
It's just those on-ramps and those low-lying spots. Getting onto I-10 are the main concern, which those are mainly along the causeway between Mobile and Baldwin counties.
You mentioned flooding. We got a flooding question. Okay. It looks like the fact that those rain bands moved through quickly that we're not really expecting a major flood threat here.
No, this is not a major flood threat. The major flood threat is going to be further to our west. With the speed of this system, and again, we're getting just bands of showers and storms. And even looking at our rainfall totals from the Weather Prediction Center, they're putting around 2 to 4 inches. That's about what we're expecting, around 2 to 4 inches, maybe as high as 5 inches in an isolated spot, but that might be a little aggressive. It's just going to be And someone mentioned the other day, it's like a summertime downpour.
Yeah.
There are times where we get 4 to 5 inches of rain with a summertime downpour. But this is expected. We're expecting a good batch of rain.
And I'm thinking actually in the grand scheme of things, I think the flood threat's really going to come if we get training thunderstorms over the same areas. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, I think a lot of people are actually very happy to see that kind of rain. I know a lot of you missed out on some of the rain last week.
Right.
We still have some drought issues. We still have moderate, severe drought out there. So this is not going to be necessarily a bad thing to get your fields wet and get your lawns wet. But unfortunately, you just don't want the tornado threat to come along with it. Right. So let's see. Folks talking about the path. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to step off really quick and get to that path graphic. Yeah, let's go ahead and roll through it here. We'll show this and the forecast model again. So let's go ahead and just guide us through here.
Of course, Francine made landfall as a Category 2 hurricane at 5 o'clock. It had 100-mile-per-hour winds at the time, and then it quickly weakened as it moved north. So at 8 p.m. advisory, 75-mile-per-hour winds. They're doing hourly advisories now to update the position. And as this continues to weaken, again, those advisories won't come as often, but as it continues to move to the north, you can see by 1 a.m. tomorrow morning a tropical storm. And that's where we're expecting some of those tropical storm force winds on the east side of this system as we get those bands of showers and storm. By 1 p.m. Thursday, though, it's, again, quickly moving to the north and will continue to move to the north over the next several days, bringing a lot of rain, again, to parts of the Mid-South. So, again, this is our weather predictor. This is 9 p.m.
Go ahead and switch over to Links 1.
Yeah,
you go ahead
sounds good. Yep. So isolated showers over the next couple of hours. But as we start to get these heavier bands of showers and storms by 11 midnight, 1 a.m. tomorrow morning, that's when you can expect those stronger wind gusts to start to develop in some spots, especially in the Mississippi first. And then as the bands start to move from the southwest to the northeast, some of our northern spots, you'll see some of those showers and storms, heavy downpours, bringing those strong wind gusts as well. So this is Thursday, 1:30 a.m., moving over really the heart of the News 5 viewing area into our coastal spots, parts of northwest Florida, Mobile, Baldwin counties, and our Mississippi counties. This is where we could see some of those spin-up tornadoes as these bands move through. So be mindful of that. Just have multiple ways to receive warnings, weather radio, cell phone that can wake you up in the early morning hours if we do get a spin-up tornado.
Yeah.
Throughout the course of the morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, then it's starting to move into our northeastern spots, northwest Florida, and we still could get bands of showers, smaller bands of showers and storms that form behind this. This might not be the exact location of these showers and storms too, but this kind of gives you a rough idea of what to expect in terms of the timing of the majority of the rainfall over the area, mainly overnight into early tomorrow morning. But then by the time we hit 6, 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow, that's when we start to see a change. It starts to dry out in most of our southwest spots, but the northeastern spots, far eastern parts of northwest Florida, you're still seeing a few showers and a few storms as well. Tornado threat finally starts to die down 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And by the time we hit midday, most places are dry. So that'll be a big relief to kind of have this out of the way and those wind gusts to start dropping off for the area.
Okay, and I do want to just go ahead and mention here, let me go ahead and put that back into play. So we just got some folks asking about the tornado threat here tonight. So so we just looked through the Weather Service chat here, and so now they did give us a little update. Now considering that we're getting these thunderstorms moving in, what they're now watching is an area south of Leakesville, due east through Atmore to Bruton, south all the way to the coast. So basically take our viewing area, draw a line from Leakesville to basically Andalusia, Leakesville, Andalusia, south. Environment is now starting to become a bit more favorable for isolated tornadoes. They said someone asked when is a watch going to be issued. They are currently holding off on the watch, but we do anticipate that will come. It is now, about 4 after 8. Right now, I would venture to say we're probably going to have a tornado watch issued, I would say by 9 o'clock, 9:30, something around there. So the Weather Service is watching that, though, that the environment is starting to become a bit more favorable for this area. Folks asking about will we get tornado warnings? I would venture to say we're probably going to get a few warnings out of this tonight. I think that's pretty think that's pretty set in at this point. We're already seeing rotating storms out there, and the environment is just going to improve through the course of the night. Again, I know you think about nighttime tornado events. I saw some folks inquiring, why does this always happen at night? we're right there with you. But as long as you have a way to something to wake you up at night when a warning is issued, then you're in good shape. You can move to your safe place if a warning is issued. So again, I see a lot of folks asking, is my area going to see tornadoes? There is a tornado threat for everyone. Let me actually get back to that map here, kind of show you the timing. So everyone has a threat or a risk of isolated tornadoes. So this is just the timing. So pay attention. If you're talking about your specific communities, I see some folks asking about Uriah, Citronelle, and Grand Bay. So this is the timing. We've now starting to enter our severe weather window when severe weather is possible. I think it's good. That threat's going to take a little longer to get into our northern counties, but your threat overnight will continue all the way through 5 a.m. in this dark red shaded area. So south of Escambia County, Florida, think Pensacola, NAS, Molino, Alberta, going into Baldwin County, Loxley, Foley, Bay Minette, Fairhope, Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan, Orange Beach, Daphne and Spanish Fort, into Mobile County, Citronelle, Mobile, Grand Bay, Semmes, Dauphin Island, and over into Mississippi, Lucedale, Agricola, McLean, Mississippi, Leakesville, Pascagoula. Your threat goes through 5 a.m. So your threat will end. This line is going to be kind of oriented in this northwest to southeast direction. It's going to be moving north. We're going to have individual storms rotating through that line. So that's when your threat comes to an end. Your tornado threat continues now through 5 a.m. Orange shaded area, Atmore, Milton, Fort Walton Beach, Crestview, Jay, Bruton, up through North Baldwin County, Chatham, Jackson. This takes us into Clark County and Washington County, North Greene County, Mississippi, now through 7 a.m. So your threat comes to an end by 7 o'clock. And finally, 9 a.m. through our northeasternmost communities. So Evergreen, Monroeville, Beatrice, think Grove Hill, Thomasville. Your tornado threat ends the latest because, again, storms are going to be moving. The line of storms, goes from southwest to northeast. That's going to be the movement here. So that's your timing. Everyone has a chance for an isolated tornado tonight. And Kristen, what time are we looking at the tornado threat going away? There's your timing. Good. You popped on the live right at the right point. This is when your tornado threat ends. Know where your community is, know your county. Hopefully that will help you out. We're going to post this on our social media pages too, and on our website to help you out there as well. Let's see. Looks like a lot of the questions are starting to wind down. Let's see. I see some folks talking about wind conditions again. All right, so the tropical storm force winds. You know what? Do you want to go ahead and run through that again?
Yeah, this is working fine. So if you want to, I'll put it back on.
Yeah, go ahead and put it back on links too. And then Grant's going to take you through the wind threat again here. That's the surge potential. In case you're wondering, if you live along the coast, there could be some minor storm surge issues here tonight. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, go and talk a little bit more about these wind gusts here, Grant.
Yeah, so I'll talk about this one more time. You can see those areas in our western spots are expecting the highest wind gusts. So again, they are closer to Francine, and they'll see the strongest wind gusts, 40 to 50 miles per hour. So if you're in our Mississippi spots or western portions of Mobile County, you'll see the strongest wind gusts out of every one of the News 5 area. If you're in areas like downtown Mobile, points east all the way to Escambia County, Florida, and as far north as Grove Hill, areas west of Monroeville, also Atmore, you'll see wind gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour. Again, this is a rough estimate based off of, again, what we've seen currently on radar and the weakening trend over time and how these wind gusts will develop over our area as the bands move in. And then if you live in other parts of northwest Florida, like Santa Rosa and Okaloosa County, you could still see a wind gust up to 40 miles per hour. Evergreen, Bruton included in that as well. So again, like I mentioned earlier, if you have loose furniture, make sure that's secured. And also, make sure this is not muted. Yeah, good, I want to be sure. So if you got any loose furniture, make sure that's secured. And also be mindful of the fact that we could have some isolated tree damage as well, which means that we might have some power outages in addition to that. So just be patient. It's going to take a little bit of time, I'm sure, for those power crews to get out there if there is any damage. anticipate there's probably going to be at least a little bit of tree damage with some of these stronger wind gusts, especially in these areas seeing these stronger gusts up to 50 miles per hour in our southwestern spots. But everyone needs to be mindful of the fact that we could have some wind gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour across the viewing area as the bands of showers and storms move in. And the timing of these wind gusts are all going to depend on when you see those bands move in, and that's going to be that same timing we showed earlier with the weather predictor, seeing those bands of showers and storms moving in late tonight into early tomorrow morning, then slowly moving to the north and east. So these areas in our northeastern spots getting it later in the morning tomorrow, around closer to between 5 and 9 a.m., while you have areas to the south and west getting that, again, late tonight into early tomorrow morning, like around 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning as the band starts to lift north. So, again, going to be fluid as these showers and storms move in, but overall, the strongest wind gusts, of course, going to be closer to Francine. That's going to be a big concern as these showers and storms move in.
Yep. Okay. Looks like the questions are starting to wind on down here, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah. So we're going to be with you on WKRG through the rest of the night. If we have to break into programming, we certainly will. We'll also break in here on our Facebook page and on WKRG.com. But bottom line tonight, again, not the strongest storm we've ever seen, but tropical storm conditions are now expected for the region. We're not going to get hurricane force winds out of this. And as we kind of mentioned, it's going to be a multiple hazard kind of night.
That's right. Areas in Mississippi, Mobile, Baldwin County included in that tropical storm warning. So you're going to see those strongest wind gusts, areas to the east and northeast of those areas. Still going to have strong wind gusts, even if they aren't tropical storm force.
So we'll keep you. We'll send frequent updates here through the evening on all of our social pages, on our website as well. We'll update the web story with new forecast information. We're likely going to start to kind of tail back on the actual position updates going forward on the storm itself. We'll send those more out on social, but when the new tracks come out, next one comes out at 10 o'clock, we'll give you an update on that one as well. But we've got 2 more newscasts tonight. News 5 at 9 on Gulf Coast CW, that is 55.1 WFNA, and of course News 5 at 10. But we're likely to do the handoff that we normally do at night. And after 2 a.m., John Nodar and Caroline Carithers will carry forward into tomorrow morning.
Yes, and they'll have all that coverage. The bands of showers and storms will be moving in at that time, and we'll still have a tornado threat, so they'll cover that whenever at around 2 a.m. and for all of News 5 this morning and 9 a.m., noon. So.
Yeah, you can go to sleep tonight. You can go to sleep. We encourage you to do so, but make sure, again, have the WKRG weather app downloaded, ready to go, your weather radio in alert mode, so that something will wake you up should you need to. So, from all of us at WKRG, thanks for spending some time with us. We'll have another update late tonight out after our newscast. We'll probably do another late night session if we're not already in wall-to-wall coverage, probably something closer to midnight. All right? Thank you all for joining us.